morning, everybody. We're just letting a couple of people get admitted right now, and then we will get started. Is anybody else getting admitted, Marcia?
We have a couple people in, but I'll be here to admit them as they come. Sometimes people kind of straggle in a little bit, so it might be, I'll let them in as they come.
Great. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Stacie Steelman. I am a board member of the INA, and I have been on the board for a long time. I'll get more into that a little bit later, but I just wanted to welcome everybody and remind everybody that this event is being recorded. If you could keep your Zoom muted while we're on the call to keep down the sound, unless you are speaking, that would be great because the background noise, and I'll try to remember to do the same. Let's see who we have here today. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves if that's okay. So I'm Stacie Steelman. I'm the treasurer of the INA, and I am hosting you today. Marcia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Marcia Hall. I'm the executive director of the INA, here just to kind of keep things moving smoothly, let you in when you get here. So a couple more people are joining us.
Great. Helen, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm
lovely
Helen.
Over there, by the way.
Hi, I'm Helen McCarthy. I'm in London, England. I'm the second vice president of the INA and working as a newborn care specialist doing nights at present.
Patrick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I was a little ill prepared there, but yes, my name is Patrick DiFiore. I am the partner manager over at GTM Payroll Services. And for anybody on the call who I have not met, Helen, I think that would just be you. Hello from the United States, and thanks for joining. Thanks, Stacie.
Sure, no problem. Tisha and I hope I'm saying that correctly. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Hi.
Hi, my name is Taisha Sanutasi, and I'm the owner of Peace of Mind Nannies. We are based out of Rhode Island, a nanny referral agency and offering babysitting services, etc.
Great. I see Lori Sealing or Seiling on the call. Would you like to introduce yourself, Lori? Hi there. Oh, we can't hear you. We have you, if you're muted, I think maybe.
Actually, it looks like, Lori, you don't have anything connected to audio right now. You might have to connect with your computer somehow.
If anything, Lori is a colleague of mine over at GTM, and
awesome.
she has a very similar role to myself.
Okay, perfect. Kendra, welcome to the call. I see you're on. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Maybe not. When you there you are. Hi.
You have to turn the computer on. I'm at work. I'm Kendra. I'm a nanny in San Francisco. What else?
Nice to see you.
Yeah. So I'm listening in, but I have children running around. Well, they're on school at the moment.
No problem. Thank you for joining us, Kendra.
Yeah.
Hi, Emily. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Do you want to introduce yourself, Emily?
Sorry, my volume was all the way down and I didn't hear you. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm Emily and board director, and I've got my little assistant here with me today. So she wanted to come join the town hall. So here she is.
She's always very cute on our calls. I love it.
I know. I was like, you get to go see Stacie today. I was like, I like her. She's like, let's go.
Hi.
Say hi.
Hi. So is there anybody else on that would like to introduce themselves? I think we captured everybody, correct? Okay, Great. All right. So again, I'm just going to remind you all that this event is being recorded, to keep your mute on unless you're actively speaking to avoid some background noise. Our board members are Emily and Helen and myself on the call. And we've got lots of volunteers and people that are active in the community. So welcome. We're really happy to have you. Marcia is going to take over right now and talk about our INA events and things that are happening. I'm going to let her take the lead for a few minutes, and then I'll come back.
Thanks, Stacie. I am just going to share my screen real quick with you all to kind of show you what we've got going on. So upcoming events for the INA, we just had a big one. Our summit is over and we are not slowing down, believe it or not. Things are still moving. So today is your last chance to apply for the service award pin and to make a nomination for the Meritorious Service Award. I will be putting in the chat bar, and if you're watching this afterwards on YouTube, I will also put in the notes the links that you can get to these things so that you don't have to worry about that. Our board of directors voting will actually start next week on Tuesday, so keep looking for some information on that as well. Like I said, we're not slowing down. This month we have actually restarted chapters where they're coming back thanks to the awesome effort of our ambassadors headed up by Kate Matievich, who's awesome. Hope you get to meet her sometime. We've already had 3 chapter meetings and we've got 3 more to come. So the Australia chapter meeting is coming up and the Minnesota chapter meeting. And then we've actually got our very first event that will be all in Spanish, our Mexican chapter meeting on the 28th. So again, links to sign up for those things. They are free to everyone this year because of COVID. They're going to continue to be just for 2021, completely virtual and open to everybody. So we hope that you can check one of them out, and they will be quarterly so that you can expect 3 more from each of the 6 chapters within 2021 again. And then another thing to keep an eye out for is our business meeting. Normally we would have this at our conference, but we didn't have an in-person conference this year. So this year we're going to do a virtual one. So that's going to be May 1st. Look for more information on that. And then I want you guys to remember to check out our really awesome Read With Us series. If you go to our YouTube channel, which if you just want to search it, it's INA Nanny. But again, I'll put that link in the chat bar in a minute. These are the amazing books that we've had people read throughout this whole series, and it's coming to a close this week. It was a really awesome series, and I hope you guys get to check it out with your kiddos. I know I was able to do one with my mom, and that was really fun. And I know that a lot of our board members did book 2, and some other members that I think are on the call today. So that is all I have for you, and I have somebody waiting, so I'm going to let him in. And I'll send it back over to Stacie. You're on mute, Stacie.
Sorry, I'm not a very good moderator. I'm going to try my best for you guys. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself for a few minutes and what I do in the industry, and then we're going to jump into our topic discussion. So for those of you who don't know me that well or haven't met me at all, I am a very long-standing board member for the INA, I think almost 8 years now. And I've been the treasurer of the INA for the past 6 years. And I love my job for the INA. I love working on the financials and planning how things are going to evolve. And I love sitting on the board and traveling and seeing everybody at our conferences. And I'm really looking forward to getting that part of my life back, like I'm sure you all are too. I live in San Diego, California, and I founded a company called Crunch Care 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago now. And we are a staffing agency, a childcare staffing agency that we service 6 cities in the United States. We serve San Diego, Orange County, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, and New York. So we continue to add different cities to our repertoire. And we work with major networks such as Bright Horizons and other backup care networks as well. And we service direct corporations for backup care as well as consumers, direct to consumer child. We're truly a pure staffing agency. So we have about 200 employees across the country. And we do long-term search as well, but it's a small portion of what we do. We're pretty focused in staffing and corporate staffing. My background is corporate staffing. I worked for a large international staffing firm back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And when I became pregnant with my first son, I quit my career to be a stay-at-home mom. And I lasted about 6 months because I hated being a stay-at-home mom. I'm much better at working than I am at infants. And people always assume that I love babies, and I actually really don't love babies. I am not great with babies. I love kids. I'm much happier now that I have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 9-year-old son, and I do much better with older children. So work was always my little escape and getaway, but I was fortunate enough to be able to do it from home. So this is my office. It's a detached building from my house. I've never left home, and my boys have me accessible all the time, but I love what I do. So that's a little overview on my background. Crazy year for us out in California with COVID, like everybody else, but I've had kids at home, all 3 of my boys at home in different rooms of my house in school all year. I'm very fortunate to have wonderful children who are really self-sufficient, bright, and adapted really well to COVID and the situation. And last week, for the first time in a year, all 3 of my children left the house to go to school for a hybrid schooling of 2 days a week. So that was really cool. It was the first time I was alone in my house in a year, which was amazing and weird. And I missed them. Like, after being mortified that they were going to be going to school at home, I was sad to see them go back. So that's a little bit about me and what's been happening out here. We've been really impacted by COVID, and the staffing industry overall has been extremely challenging, especially temporary staffing where people move from home to home. But we have survived the pandemic, and we're very grateful. And our people are out in the field right now getting vaccinated left and right. And we're fortunate to be able to do that for our people right now. And grateful that childcare is a priority in terms of vaccination order. So thank you for having me. Thanks for letting me host. And I think at this point, if you have any questions for me, let me know. But I think at this point, we are going to jump into our topic discussion, if that's okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
I just want to point out Mara's comment to you, Stacie. She loves your honesty. That you know, like babies that you she just loved your honesty that you were honest about.
You know what, Mara? I love other people's babies. Like, you know, I just didn't love having my own because it was so demanding, right? Like, at one point I had 3 under the age of 5, and I literally thought I was going to lose my marbles.
Stacie, yeah, I totally echo that. I mean, I love my babies, and I loved when I was a nanny and I had babies, but it was hard when they're yours, and it's just, there's no end. I mean, it's tough. And I love my kids now that, I mean, I love them then too. I always love them, but it's nice that they're older and they're self-sufficient and they can, like, you know, do certain things. I echo that too, but I thought that was just really funny that Mara said that, and Helen says she's the opposite. To each their own, right?
Unfortunately, I'm way past those years now. So when I see other people, like, so my ex-husband had identical twin girls after, like, my divorce, and their 4-year-old birthday party was yesterday. and I'm really close with them and I love them. And I went to the party and they were like riding horses in the street and they were so cute. And it was the most fun in the world because they're not mine. Right. And I'm like, this is great. I'm so happy that you have them. They're so wonderful. And he's like sweating and exhausted. And you know that feeling. So anyway, it's a lot of fun now that they're older. I definitely appreciate it. So our topic today is teamwork. And I can prompt with questions, or if somebody has something to say to lead the conversation, we can get started. If nobody has anything to say, I'm going to rely on some of these wonderful questions that Marcia took the time to put together. So we can open up by discussing the significance of what a team can accomplish versus individually working. And I can be the first to share that, you know, without my team that supports me operating my company, I would be able to accomplish nothing. So today, with my business, I'm not really involved in the day-to-day of what we do. I don't interview people, hire people, or talk to clients anymore. I'm behind the scenes, and my team has been unbelievable. And I wish one or two of them had popped on, but they're too busy trying to hire people and get people to work right now. But it's pretty unbelievable what we're able to accomplish with everybody directed in their very specific roles versus me trying to do everything. Like back in the old times when I started the company and I wore so many hats, it was like I was a gerbil on a little spinning wheel running around and around and around. So the ability to do so much more because of my team's being available and being experts at each of their roles has been amazing in the growth of my company, which, you know, has really truly 2017 we have tripled in size. So that's a direct result of my team and their abilities and everybody having specific roles in the big picture. So I'll turn it over for somebody else to jump in.
I'll chime in if nobody else is going to. Thanks for your input, Stacie. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, teamwork is great, but I'm like, as a nanny, where is their teamwork? And then I think about it from a different perspective, in which we at GTM, we have about a 70-person company. Everybody has an individualistic role, in which I may not specialize in matters of taxation or accounting, but somebody does. And I look at the INA as being the team for this network of nannies, because there are people and organizations that are a part of this group that can help them to become better individually, because I know nannies usually don't work in teams. It's them watching for a kid or two. But again, I think having this resource and this association is what makes up that background of a teamwork frame for nannies alike.
That's really good perspective. I never, you know, that's so interesting. For all my years of sitting on the board, I never looked at the INA as like the framework of a team for nannies, but truly it is. It's a huge outlet and support system related to people who are independently working and don't have that network of an office.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And looking back to the conference just the past couple of weekends, I mean, obviously there's certain things that don't pertain to me personally. I'm not a newborn care specialist, so I don't need to learn about those things, but there are a lot of people that attended who are trying to branch into that line of work, as opposed to working with the older children, as you guys were kind of alluding to before. So yeah, it was something that just kind of dawned on me, and again, wanted to just share my perspective, because it wasn't something that I had ever looked at in that light either, but I'm glad to see that you agree.
It is really interesting. You know, this teamwork is our theme for the month, and this town hall just happened to hit on the same day as our mentorship Monday. So there is a really good conversation about this going on the INA member group as well. around teamwork. And that's actually a really great thing. Patrick, you should put on there, because a lot of that conversation is about teamwork with the parents. And, you know, as a nanny, you are a team member of the parents, but there's that hierarchy, right? And in the nanny world, as INA and other groups, those are, you know, you're on equal footing with everybody, and you just can kind of play off each other and gather ideas and perspectives. And that's really important, because I think teamwork is about understanding a different perspective, because I may be good at certain things, but I need to recognize where I'm weak and put those other people in place to support me where I'm weak. Because if you are a team member who thinks they can do it all, you're not going to be working very well with other people. And so that is a really great way. It's great to see people in moments like that happen on the INA member group, the Mentorship Monday, say, hey, like, this is an area that I struggle with. What are the ideas out there? I would love to hear them. So that's great. I think you should put that on there, Patrick.
Do you guys, I mean, I haven't been heavily involved in the Mentorship Monday. Do you have a lot of attendance? Are there a lot of people looking for that support on a regular basis, like from the community? Marcia?
I think topics are good. You know, some are good and some have more. There's been quite a lot of comments on this one. Actually, I woke up to it just like ding, 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 ding. I think some of those European nannies were up earlier than us, and as soon as they saw the questions, they added their 2 cents. Right, Helen? She's always like the first to comment, because we're all asleep when she sees it. But
yeah, because there's a 4-hour time difference between us. Well, between me and the East Coast, it's only 4 hours at the moment. It's normally 5.
So
but
there
no,
is.
I agree. This month's has gone really well. But I know, I think a couple of months ago, or it might have been last month, there wasn't a great interaction with it. But this month, there's teamwork is obviously the real subject at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a particular saying. I've just found it on my phone and now I've lost it. The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each individual member is the team.
Well, I also think that this hits home with a lot of the internationals, as they've been working on the test translations and that have come into the INA recently because of test translations, and they had to work on a team to get that done, a 2-person team per language. And so I think that probably really hit home for them and for me, you know, especially this month, seeing what all the team has accomplished, and I'm super proud of them.
That's great. I'm going to move to the next question because I think it's a good one. What positive and or negative experience have you had as a team member or a team leader? So I really with this because with my company, you know, it was really hard for me to get the most out of each person that works for me. I have a fairly large support team overseas. We outsource all of our staffing scheduling to the Philippines. And our people out there are amazing. They're all moms working from home and really bright women, but it's really hard to control your team when they're in another country. And then our accounting team is in India primarily. So it's really hard that we're dealing with different cultural, boundaries and time zones and all that. And then half of our team is in New York and half of our team is in California in terms of like internal recruiting. So it was really challenging for me as the company got bigger over the years to give everybody what they really needed and provide the direction and be the leader of the team. So this year, during COVID, I looked at an opportunity to outsource some leadership training. So I ended up hiring Megan Metzger to work with my team. She was past president of the board, really involved in the industry, does a lot of consulting. And I turned over a lot of our training, leadership training to her this year. and to work with each group, scheduling in the Philippines, accounting overseas, and our recruiting team internally. And it was really interesting to let somebody else in on working on developing each person and having the team complement one another. And it was like an experiment, almost like for me, because I hadn't done that before. And it was great to hear somebody from the outside give a lot of perspective on what my team needed and what they were good at, and as the leader of the team, really taking that direction and applying it. And it made a huge difference in the independence of the team through the year. So I think probably the most important takeaway of that is, like, as a team leader, letting go of trying to do everything as the lead, and figuring out how to invite different personalities and presences into your team is an important part of developing the team. Because they hear me talk all the time, and they're like, and it probably sounds like, wah, 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 like after enough time, I just say the same thing over and over again, but different perspective is really important in the team function. So that was a really interesting experience that I had this year. And an opportunity that I did because of COVID, because we had the time to invest into just breathing a little bit, looking at who we are, looking at our strengths and weaknesses, and learning how to complement one another, you know, in a different way than we had in the past. So the question again is, what are some positive and negative experiences you've had as a team member or a team leader?
I would like to put maybe another question that I raised my hand before, so I missed the opportunity. Sorry, I'm at work, so Patrick approached very well how on the nanny world could be helpful for them to help us to work in a team. In another hand, Marcia also added that we're always in a team with the mom and daddy. But I think that as a nanny, we are in a particular point of this team because we are close to the mother, and at the same time, or you work as a team with another nanny for the super wealthy families, but it always has housekeepers involved on this team, but we are not trained to work as a team. And many conflicts can rise from just lack of training, even from mom, because she doesn't, even they say, oh, they need a nanny to work as a team, but it's just the mom, the dad is the daddy. And they don't think about us, through my experience, I'm sorry, but they don't treat us as a team. And I don't know, I would like to hear more about this team thing with inside the nanny world. Yeah, because I think that is so fluid. We don't have any organization as a team, any training, specifically inside the family. Like you were saying, Stace, you are on this organization and you are always talking, and trying to train and evaluate and listen back. But we don't have that in our real world, right?
So I'll chime in. I'm a qualified NNEB nanny. Obviously from the UK, we have a Pacific nanny qualification over here. So during the 2-year course that was the NNEB, it's now a cash diploma. You do get told how to work as a team, and also when you work in different roles. I mean, I've been qualified for 30 years now, and so I've worked as a nanny and as an NCS, and I've worked in a nanny agency in that 30-year career. The team is you and the parents normally, but as you said, you do bring in a housekeeper or a cleaner, and a lot of parents give you that responsibility to oversee. I mean, my last job that I've just stepped away from, I had 5 children ranging from a newborn to 9-year-old, with a set of twins in there who were 2. And I was responsible to manage the whole house, as well as, you know, making sure everybody was in the right place at the right time. So it is working as a team. And I find that dads do get really involved these days. If you'd asked me it 20 odd years ago, dads weren't involved, but I believe that dads are really involved far more in the childcare of their children now than they were. I mean, and the sort of the very British thing is to come in and pat them on the head at the end of the day and give them a kiss and off they go to bed. It's your typical Mary Poppins scenario. But childcare has changed in 30 years, especially when I think back to my very first job. I probably wasn't in a team then, but now you're definitely more involved. And as I do switch between nanny and NCS, and now the NCS, I definitely work as a tag team with the mum because she's breastfeeding. So when I go in at night, you know, we work as a team. She sends me a message to say that she's pumped and can I pop upstairs and go and get the milk and stick it in the fridge so that she doesn't have to. And that really is tag teaming. But yeah, I think nannies are very different all over the world, and it depends what cultural and where you work in the world to how families are. And then you have rota nannies, and that's a whole different game because you really have to work as a team, because if you don't agree with the nanny who also takes over from you when you're on your week or 2 week off, that there can be a real problem there.
I would say too, to add to that, for me, when I was a nanny and I was working with families, yeah, there definitely were times that the parents didn't think of me as a part of the team or them as a part of the team. But the more I used that language and I talked about wanting to be a team player and wanting to work with them and wanting to figure this out together, the more they got on board to that idea that we were a team, that we're working together for the best possible outcome of their children, that, you know, their children could become healthy and mature adults. So I think that some of that put back on us if you're working for a family that doesn't sort of have that mindset, to bring that up in conversation, not to be like, I'm a part of your team, not to like put it in their face, but just to kind of have that in your everyday language with them, to talk about being a part of the team. Like, okay, so when it's my turn with the team, you know what I mean? And those kind of things can really help.
One thing that we do as an agency is when we make a placement is that we use that language through the offer extension process. So the parent really understands that this is their internal team, right? Like, and I had a nanny for many years, and she was the team lead, like even more so than I was, because she was so much more skilled and had a lot more experience with infants than I did. And we looked at everything from a team perspective, every choice, every food choice, activity planning, and so forth. Like, so that was really important as when I started parents over the years, that the perspective through the interview and offer extension and management process and retention of their nanny, that they really truly looked at that person as a valued member of their internal team, right? Because without that person, there would be no career for mom and dad. There would be no opportunity for them to have the support system associated to that. So it's really something that we speak about on a regular basis to our parents, and encourage them to look at it that way. And we do the same thing when we're working when we work directly with families for backup care, that they can really like rely on our internal team for questions on best practices, and our field employees, our care providers, our nannies out in the field can be considered that as well. So it's something that we give a lot of coaching on, because, you know, it's optimal for us to work with families with that perspective and not another perspective. We actually push back quite a bit on families that don't have that perspective. So.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Very nice to listen to you all. Thank you, Helen.
Anybody else want to comment on challenges or positive experiences related to being a team lead or individual?
I would just say, like, being a team lead comes with a lot of responsibility, um and I think that's the hardest part about being a team lead. But also, when you're on a team and your team is working really hard and great, it's amazing to share the success and the end stories of it. Like, that's amazing. And then also, when you're not team lead, you get to share that same success because you contributed to it. So I think I love being a part of a team, and I love seeing things get done and working hard for a common goal. Like, to me, that's the greatest part about it. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and I'll just comment, I'm a nanny agency owner and a nanny as well. And so I'm continuing to do that a little bit as I'm also working on the agency. And so from my years of experience as a nanny, I'll say that particularly now during COVID, having families that are now working from home, I can say being a part of a team with the parents during this time has been, vital, particularly because especially for the children that were in school and then switched to distance learning, just thinking about their own child development and what they're going through right now, they have to be the center of the conversations with, of course, with parents, but particularly now because there's so much going on that they're also grappling with as well in terms of their health. And so I can say, now the family that I've been working with through COVID, we are such a strong team because we both understand that there are challenges that the child is going through because they've been removed from what their day-to-day used to be, and how important that really is right now.
And I think it's also important, specific to COVID, to recognize that like reintegrating back into the world is going to be another huge challenge and a big area of focus for families and nannies that are with these families, really understanding the intricacies of, sending a child back into the school environment with a mask on their face and them coming home, and like the freedom that the kids have been allowed, like that it's been successful for, has been extremely different of an experience. And going back into the school system is almost like getting being put on lockdown again, right? And those freedoms are being taken away. So there's a lot of shift changes and conversations that are happening. So if you're a nanny working with children right now, it's really important, as part of your role, to really open those conversations when the kids come home from school, and integrate those conversations with, make sure the parents are hearing what's happening, because I don't think that we think about how complicated it is as a parent. But like when I did my school pickup last week, like if it was somebody else doing it, and I don't have a nanny anymore, but if it was us doing it, I would have wanted to know, with my team member, every bit of that conversation and what that experience was like, and the complications of it, because it is complicated. It's really complicated. So another really interesting question is, when is conflict a healthy force in a team, and how do you address healthy conflict in a team?
Stacie, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually just about to chime in prior to you asking that question and say something very much along those lines. But I think to a certain extent, of course, I mean, if it comes to like you want to punch somebody, that's obviously not good conflict. But I think interdepartmental or inter-team conflict it can oftentimes be positive, because what it's doing is it's forcing people to open their eyes to a different perspective in which they might not have or share. But with that, there comes this discourse where both parties will give their reasons and rationales as to why they think is one side is best. And sometimes you find a middle ground. Sometimes somebody completely changes their mind. But with working with a family and a nanny, an example I was just thinking of is that if a family says, okay, we want you to do something this way, and you being a career and experienced nanny say, I really don't think that's the best thing for this situation, can in turn, it could potentially save a child if this family was not working with this nanny and had instructed somebody to do otherwise. So again, these conflicts, they obviously come with discussion, but I do think it is generally healthy because it's ultimately bridging the gap to finding this point in getting everything completed in which you're tasked.
When we have conflict on our internal team at Crunch Care, I remember in the beginning years, like with my director of placements, who I was very close with personally, we would have these, we go head to head with each other a little bit, and it was overwhelming to learn how to like find the balance of the personal relationship and work together, and we learned over the years. She's been with me for a really long time, almost 7 years in her role at Crunch Care. We learned how to make these conversations really productive, where we were able to, I would respectfully listen to her input and her perspective. And I realized like over the years how much intelligence she had formed from just working together, and her perspective was so incredibly different than mine, that when we started to get into it and have these conversations, we finally got to the point where there was a really beautiful evolution of us learning how to solve problems together, like you're saying. And it was an opportunity for us to develop. I developed a lot as a leader, and I learned a lot from her. And I think that she developed a lot from learning my perspective, and also to not feel that feeling of being able to share your perspective, even if it's different from somebody else's, and to still value that person's perspective was really, it was a huge opening for us in terms of efficacy of us working together. So that was really cool experience for me. And it still continues to be. I've learned a lot from her.
I think that teamwork in any kind of teamwork, if you're talking about a parent and nanny, if you're talking about teamwork within an office, if you're talking about even teamwork with partners, there's always the potential for the other side to be positive, right? But both people have to want to get there. And that can be tricky sometimes, if you're talking about teamwork within the home and it's a parent and nanny, if the parent or the nanny doesn't want the other perspective, doesn't want to understand things, doesn't want to grow from it, like Stacie was just saying, it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to be positive. Same thing is true with partners, with I think within the office too. If everyone involved doesn't want to come out on the other side understanding more, or doesn't somehow have the same goal to accomplish that task, that whatever the conflict is, then it's going to be negative. And that's the tricky part for me, is like how to get everybody on board with wanting the same thing, right? Like wanting to be a part of that team and to listen to each other. And I tend to be the kind of person that does want to listen to everybody, and I put people around me when I can that also want to do that, you know what I mean? But every once in a while there's that situation where you don't get to control who's in this partnership with me, and you just kind of have to get through it. I would love some thoughts on how do you address that if you're in a partnership and you're not being respected. Like, what do you do? I'm just spitballing, Stacie. Sorry, I asked another question, but it was kind of came from there. Like, what do you do if you're in that place? Like you were talking, Stacie, you know, that situation, what if that other person wasn't interested in learning from you, or you weren't interested in learning from them? That's tough, because sometimes it just doesn't work.
No, I mean, especially in the environment where you're working at home, like when a parent doesn't have that philosophy of being a team member, right, with a nanny, and there's no, it's more of like a dictatorship, which is never really effective, and it doesn't really benefit anybody if that's the approach. It's so much more, I mean, it's really hard when a parent is closed off to that, or a nanny is closed off. I've seen a lot of situations with people out in the field where the nanny wants to do things her way, and the parent is like more easygoing and flexible, but the nanny is like set in her ways. So that can be equal, like it goes both ways. It can definitely be challenging, and really having the perspective of it being a team is optimal, and getting coached through that. I think if people are open to being coached, then the opportunity is it's so much more pleasant of an environment.
This is Greta. I know you can't see me, but I just wanted to, hey everybody, sorry I'm like late joining, but one of my favorite qualities to look for when we are interviewing nannies is a teachable spirit, or the ability to adapt, or, you know, you can come with a lot of knowledge and experience, but that doesn't mean that that will always shift into a specific position. And, you know, I find that with families and with staff as well, it's not just about, like you were saying, Stacie, the person that may be the employee or the person that was hired that needs to be teachable. As an employer and as an owner of a business, I need to be teachable, because there are things that I still need to know too. So I think it just comes with this perspective of, am I willing to learn? Am I willing to grow? Am I willing to listen? And just that teachable spirit, like I want to always have that myself, and look to hire people that have that as well.
Yes.
I think a lot of nannies are being micromanaged, as we call it now. And I think, again, that's when you're not being in a team, and you're being micromanaged by your bosses. And I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately, you do need to play as a team. But what a nanny has to remember, it isn't our children. It is actually our employer's child. And really, at the end of the day, if they want it done a particular way, even if we really, really disagree with it, as long as it's not going to endanger the child in any way, we have to toe the line and really say, okay, hands up, it's not my way, it's your way. And it's probably that, you know, and I think if you are being micromanaged in a job and it's not for you, you have to be the bigger person and say, this isn't for me. And I think a lot of nannies find in work, and I know I've been through that, we don't have an HR department. It's not a company, whereas, you know, in a company you can go and moan to somebody. The only person you can moan to is your boss. And I think that's why we see a lot of nannies venting off on Facebook, because they feel that's a safe environment, although Facebook is not the safe environment. And I think it was in one of the not the town hall, in one of the chapters, we were saying about how we shouldn't be posting photos of what you find in your boss's kitchen on a Monday morning. We us nannies, we've all been there. We know what it's like. I mean, we know what we're like at home, probably, you know, but you don't go and air that over Facebook. And I think we have to be a bit more mindful, and yeah, just being micromanaged, and that is probably the new term of, you know, the other wording and everything.
Yeah, micromanagement is a huge part of having, not micromanaging is a huge part of a relationship being successful. It's really hard to do that. I'm a crazy micromanager. I have to I really am. And I have to stop myself on a regular basis, because it's not kind and it's not very trusting to operate in that way. So that was part of my coaching that I had to get this year, and I learned a lot from it. I mean, it's a really important perspective. So let's see, where are we here? I think that we have about 5 more minutes of conversation left. Is that right, Marcia? I think so, about 5 more
Yeah,
minutes.
it's pretty flexible, so it's not, you know,
Okay.
if we've got stuff to say, we should say it, and if not, then, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these questions. I'm seeing if there's any others that are really interesting, and I do think that this is a good question. It kind of goes with some of the topics. Is it possible to have too little conflict on a team? So back to what Patrick was saying, I feel like conflict leads to development and growth, and if it's handled properly. So I'd love to hear somebody else's perspective on that. Like when the team is completely in sync all the time and nothing ruffles your feathers, like I think pain brings growth. So I'm a huge supporter of that. Like the pain points really lead to development. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was waving to the little gal. I wasn't waving to the camera. I'm sorry. just ignore
I
my.
thought you were waving to me, so
No,
I just wanted to wave
sorry.
back.
I wasn't, but I can say hi. I stepped in late. I'm sorry. I am. Hey, Greta. I just wanted to see what was going on, who joins these things, because I thought there'd be like 80 people. I slipped in. I remember slipping into one previously, thinking I could just hide in the background, and clearly I didn't learn from my mistake again. So, hi. There should definitely be ripples in. I see you. There should definitely be ripples in a relationship, because if there's no conflict, then there's no change, and if there's no change, someone's not being honest with the group as a whole. Because I went out for a dinner date with this couple, socially distanced, don't want to get in trouble for that, yeah, they were like, we never argue. I'm like, that sounds boring. That sounds really boring. You guys must hate life. And they're like, we love life. We never argue. I'm like, well, I argue with my wife all the time. And we've gone from here to here to, I mean, that's relative. Like, I feel like we've made leaps and bounds since we started having open discussions about our feelings. And now, well, I have this, didn't have this a couple of years ago. I'll be a dad in 7 weeks, didn't have that a couple of years ago. You know, there's only so much, oh, we're being recorded. There's only so much poop, insert poop emoji, that you can sweep under a rug before the rug is so bumpy that you can't walk on it anymore because you're going to break an ankle. So just take some of the poop emoji out from under the rug, little piece at a time, start talking about it, and life will get better and you will grow in many different directions. I'm doing this because there's a microphone here, but I have a podcasting room in my house now. I'm kind of a big deal, no big deal. Yeah, there should definitely be open discussions. And if you guys are all so copacetic and everything's so wonderful, why do you hate your job? Is my question to the people that aren't listening. Okay, I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to mute myself.
Daniel, I'm going to have to confess, my husband and I are one of those really boring couples then, because in 25 years, we've never had an argument.
What?
Well, that's weird. That's crazy.
But there's a difference between an argument and a disagreement.
No,
And you're
we
British.
don't really disagree on anything. And yeah, it's yeah, we're going to be one of those sort of really very weird, boring couples then. We do enjoy life. We live life to the full.
Well,
And
but you're English and we keep on and carry on. So that doesn't really apply. Sorry, I thought this was international. I thought this was the American Nanny Association, where everyone doesn't keep calm and carry on. They go on social media and they tell the world about their issues. Sorry, I forgot this was international. Yeah, that's awesome, Helen.
Yeah, you forgot it's international now.
But my boyfriend's British, Daniel, and we still argue.
I love arguing. It's the best.
I mean, whoo, it can get heated. But like that has made, like you said, it makes your relationship grow though. And you can become a better team, I feel like.
Yeah.
Sorry, Helen.
No, but there's only two in that team, you know, like as long as the two people are happy, that's cool. But in a home, there's usually more than two people. And it takes a village. I mean, that's a phrase for a reason, you know, and if the village aren't all honest with each other, then you have a rat and you have a mole and you have someone who is not acting true to themselves. And that happens a lot, and that causes issues that come out in spectacularly dramatic ways. I am living proof of that myself. So definitely sweep some of the poop emoji back out from under the rug and start dealing with it a little pellet at a time. A little pile at a time, and your life will start getting better. I think I'm still talking about nannies. I'm not, you know, I know this isn't therapy. I pay enough for therapy. And you guys should too, because it's awesome. Shameless plug for therapy. Truth, Greta. Okay, bye. I'm going to mute myself again.
Oh, Daniel, thank you for coming, because you just made such a nice bright spot in the morning. It was so enjoyable.
In my black abyss.
I love it. I love it. Would anybody like to say anything else about teamwork today?
I would like to add exclamation mark for what Danny said. We should be 80, 100 attending this. Although not always that I'm available for town halls and the Monday mentoring, but we should be much, much more attending and training. I never found a nanny school here in California, Los Angeles, so the INA is my school, and I always have this big exclamation mark on my own head, like, where are all of you? Where are all of we nannies, that so many kids, so many families that are employing us, and where are we training? Where are doing this whole of a nanny, this profession of a nanny, be really, really, not that it's not relevant, because they need us. And thank you again for your honest, Stacie, because we are trained. It's not because we are women and we put a big belly 9 months carrying the babies that we are professionals to take care of them. We don't know. And if you're first mom, you do much less, and you are so involved emotionally that you don't know what to do. You are not sleeping well, and all these things. You need a professional there. And where are these nannies that support the women to go for their real careers as you? Where are we working as a team, real team, as a corporation, on the sense of corporation, that we can support these women to go for their careers on the professional world? If they want, as you will say, no, I am not a housewife. I'm not a mom at home. I am a professional, and I go for it. So my pleasure, my mission accomplished as a nanny is to support a woman that she can keep her career when she chooses to. And that's a plus bonus for me. Thank you for letting me vent this. And yes, maybe I need to go to therapy, right, Danny?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you,
and also, cheaper than therapy. I know you have an iPhone, Mara. Are you on Clubhouse? Okay, you're not.
I'm what?
Because you would have said yes. I'm going to send you. You have to come on Clubhouse because people need to hear what you have to say. I will. Where are you today? Are you in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
I'm going to be in Beverly Hills today. After this, I will come to you. I will install Clubhouse on your phone. I will show you how to use it. And that is where you need to, that's where the questions need to be asked, and that's where they're going to get answered. So if you haven't heard of it, Google it. And then if you have 5 minutes out of your day, I'll be there whenever you want me to be there.
Oh, anytime, please.
Okay, cool. I'll be there between 4 and 5. I have to go drop off some baby stuff.
Daniel, you're like the Uber Eats for nannies.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be the everything.
Give my phone to Danny Uber Eats.
It's actually danielbutcher.com/nanny eats. No,
That's
that doesn't
great.
sound right. That's
I
not cool.
love it.
Oh yes, we eat sometimes. That's true. We
Yeah, when you
eat
get like
sometimes.
4 seconds, and it's usually rock hard chicken nuggets. But yeah, nanny eats sometimes is a good
I
name.
mean, who's ordering Burger King though, Danny?
In and out, California. Yeah, get on Clubhouse. Meet me there. I'll send you an invite. I scared Kate Hudson because she joined Clubhouse, and I got a notification on my phone, so I jumped into her welcome room and I scared all her people. It was hilarious. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So in closing, we are going to, if anybody has other current events that they would like to share or anything else happening in the industry, it's funny you mentioned Clubhouse. Somebody invited me to Clubhouse a while back, but I was so overwhelmed with kids and work and everything. I'm going to go back in and look for that
I'll
message.
send you an invite. Use
Yeah,
my invite, because then we get connected professionally on the back end.
Okay.
And that's why I'm sending it to all my celebrity friends, because then I'm connected to them, and then I get to kind of ride their coattails.
Okay. Yeah.
Send me
it
one
my
too,
way.
Danny. Send me one as well.
Yeah, I've heard really about that, and it's really in line with our theme today of teamwork. So it's helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there any other things happening in the industry or exciting stuff going on that we should be aware of and bring to the group before we wrap up our call?
Just remember the chapters have started, and there's a couple coming up. I put it in the chat, but those of you that joined later probably didn't see it, so I should do it again. And it will be on the recording of it as well. But it's all over our social media too, so check that out. And I know that the ambassadors would love to have you guys on here on the chapter. And since COVID is here and we all are stuck inside still and everything is virtual, everybody gets to be involved in that this year. So that's exciting. And if you want that service award pin, or if you want to nominate somebody, today's your last day for Meritorious Service Award too. So that was all.
And probably also the other thing that's coming up in April is International Nanny Training Day, done by Nanny Palooza and Homework Solutions, and it's all virtual this year. Unless you can have an in-house meeting, I'm lucky we're allowed because it's educational, so in this country we can do it. But yeah, if you go on to nannypalooza.com and click on INTD, you'll get the details there, and they have some awesome speakers from across the globe.
Okay.
And the tests are coming out. So sorry, Stacie. We have 15 languages, and it's being released this month in April. So
Perfect. Wonderful. Anything else? Okay. Well, I really appreciated being a part of this. I wanted to thank you guys for coming. And Marcia, thanks for asking me to do it. It was really fun and different for me, and I appreciated it.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. I was very nervous. I started to sweat a little bit yesterday morning, like, oh my gosh, I got to get my act together before Monday morning. It's great to see everybody. It's great to hear everybody. And I hope that you all are staying safe and vaccinated as soon as you can, and feeling healthy and hopefully embracing getting our lives back to normal soon. It's a pleasure to see all of you, and thank you for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Say bye.